Now, first it was Australia, now New Zealand is eyeing up social media bans for under-16s. Worried about cyber bullying and harmful content, Christopher Luxon has unveiled draft laws that would force social media companies to verify users are at least 16 years old or face fines of up to $2 million. Regulators the world over are wrestling with how to keep children safe online as social media is increasingly flooded with violent and disturbing content. National Party lawmaker Catherine Wedd drafted the bill. She says it would hold social media companies to account, but not all are convinced this is the right move. Coalition partner ACT says while they share the concern of many parents and teachers and experts, a ban is not workable, citing requiring all social media users to provide government identification to social media companies would raise privacy issues, amongst other things. Adding, while similar legislation has been passed in Aussie, it hasn't come into effect yet, and no one knows how the ban will be implemented. Online internet safety organisation Netsafe says their key concern is to ensure that any legislative change gets this right for everyone. Their Chief Online Safety Officer is Sean Lyons, and he joins me now. Hello, Sean.
Sure. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Look, it might be a nice thought. It is a nice thought, Sean, to protect young people from, the dark sides of the internet. But how workable is it really?
I think it's more than a nice thought. I think broadly it's something that we should all be striving for, something that Netsafe has at the heart of who it is, and I think it is definitely something that we can achieve. I think, though, it's a complicated thing. It's a terribly complicated piece in the way that social media is, and I think we need to think about all of what's involved in making sure young people are safe, not just about potentially removing them from those places.
Don't we already have restrictions in place, Sean? There's parents can obviously block certain things for their kids, young children. Do we not have enough safety features as it is?
We have a lot of safety features across a lot of things, but I think that, if you think about the average spread of what a young person might use, I think a lot of parents will see that as being quite a complicated set of tools to use. But a big part of it is making sure that parents feel comfortable, understand what it is that their young people are doing online, and we need to provide good support for parents and young people when it comes to the harm that they experience online. Both those parties have to be represented in whatever it is we do when we're looking to keep young people safe online.
Is it getting worse, Sean, for young people?
Well, we're certainly seeing more reports of harm online for young people, but that's not just young people, right across the board. And part of that is because it's easier to report, I think now. So organisations like ourselves can take reports. We have legislation in this country under the Harmful Digital Communications Act that provides action to be taken to support people, young and old, when they experience harm. But I think also our use of more and more platforms means that just as a numbers game, Leah, that we are probably facing more harm. People are causing that harm to each other, and that's another thing I think we need to talk about, when we're having this conversation, is making sure we all keep in mind that it's somebody behind that harm that's causing the harm to the other people, and we need to work out how we can make sure that's not okay, make sure there's action taken when people do create and cause that.
Yeah, see, that was because that goes back to my original question about, is it actually workable? Because you said there are more and more platforms that will come online. It just seems, unfathomable, I suppose. Maybe I'm putting up the can't do it too soon, but when you've got so many social media outlets having this kind of ban, I just don't know how it would roll out, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the concerns. And, it's how far and how wide does that kind of ban stretch? And if there's one thing that being at Netsafe for as long as I have has shown me about the way in which people try to harm people, people find a way around the rules and restrictions, and even the platforms that they're on. They shift and change between platforms, and I think there's a genuine and valid fear that if we ban and block people from some platforms, what we'll end up doing is driving others to sort of darker, less regulatable, scarier parts of the internet, where even less action can be taken than possibly the situation that we're sitting in right now, which is definitely a concern for young and old.
Well, that was I was thinking about that, because the concern about when you ban anything, Sean, people always find a way around it, right? And I was thinking, if that happened, it could push young people, as you've just said, to even less secure platforms, or lead them to create fake accounts, They're clever. They're clever little things.
Exactly, and especially when the sort of the want or the need to access these things is so great. I mean, I think we that there are other places where we see that kind of legal prohibition might not have the effect that we want. Alcohol is strongly regulated, but we know that young people still can consume alcohol. So it's not just the ban. It's not just that part. Regulation is one part, but so is education. So are the tools to help. And one of our real fears is that, for years, the social media has been around. We're trying to develop the confidence and the skills in young people to recognise when they've been harmed, to speak up, to complain, to get action taken. And a real concern of ours would be that a blanket ban might sort of push that back and find more and more young people unfortunately prepared to accept some kind of harm because the places they're in, they feel that they shouldn't be, and because of that, there's no one they can talk to, and we would see that as a real step backwards.
In Australia, I mean, I haven't seen what this government plans when they say they want to ban social media. That is such a broad term, isn't it, Sean? Because in Australia, I believe it's things like they're going to do Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Reddit. But services like YouTube, WhatsApp, and Google Classroom, of course, which is used for educational and communication purposes, are exempt. Is that, would you like to see that here in New Zealand? Do those platforms there, would you agree with that?
I think that's been one of our concerns as we've watched the way in which the process has gone in Australia, and that the list that they've made, the list that you've described there, is an attempt to try and provide a degree of clarity for people, but I think everybody's definition of social media is probably slightly different. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that probably would have read that or hear you saying there that YouTube, as an example, is exempt. People would be quite surprised by that, and there are reasons and rationale for that. But it's this kind of level of confusion that concerns us as we watch that, and that we wouldn't want to see that level of confusion replicated here again if this work progresses. So it's what that does is it provides, again, it's that kind of potential dark space or hiding space online. As one platform might argue that it's not a social media platform, and therefore doesn't have to fulfill its obligation under the ban, which is also then more and more confusion for parents, for young people, about where they can be or where they should be. So again, that's something we're watching in Australia with really great interest to see just how they resolve that.
Now, one of my listeners has texted in, Sean, and said that apparently Pornhub is exempt. I don't know if that's. Have you heard that?